Ryze has never been balanced. This champ has been a complete nightmare for Riot Games over the last decade, ever since he was put into the game as one of the original champions. And it's known and understood that he's probably one of, if not the hardest champion to get right for Riot. Truthfully, I'm not sure what can be done with him. The core problem is that he's very powerful in competitive play while being mediocre for about 90% of all solo queue players. There's a pretty good video that Riot put out recently with Jat talking about what their expectations are for Ryze.
But then we did the rework and it was up to like 52.
And we slightly nerfed about that.
Yeah, and we like slightly nerfed it there, but so the gold, we know that Ryze is generally down like 3% in Elite and up in lower elos. Like we know the direction was right. I guess we're just curious of the magnitude because long term we want Ryze to be at like 47% or 48% win rate without being a problem.
That would be fine. We could leave him there.
That would be like the
happily.
ultimate
That is
goal.
where a lot of
And we're just
similar
wondering,
mages lie.
yeah, and we're just wondering if we did enough mechanics work to get him there, so we can wait to see if we failed at even getting him to 45, which would be if he's a pro problem now, or we can just set him to 48 and then nerf later. It's just a matter of like how much passion or fatigue we're willing to opt into.
Notice how he didn't say anything about a 50 or even 51% win rate. Their expectation for him is to have below a 50% win rate, around 47 or 48%, indicating that they know that this is a problem and they have to be careful with buffing him because they know that he will become an absolute terror at the highest level. All of these things in mind, let's look at some of the changes that Ryze received on patch 9.12 for his, of course, annual rework. On this patch, Ryze's base mana was lowered from 400 to 300 and his Q was reworked quite a bit. The reason that this happened is that if you didn't know, before, Ryze actually had 6 points in his Q because his old Realm Warp, his R, only had 2 points that you could put into it at level 6 and level 11. The shield that he gained from overloading, so either using like an EE or an EW and then using a Q, so he stacked up 2 runes first and then unloaded his Q, that shield is totally gone, and spell flux damage has been changed to scale off his ultimate rank instead, once again incentivizing people to put ranks into his R. The bonus movement speed that he got was lowered by a small amount during the early to mid game, but was the same during the late game, and his W rune prison has been changed to a 35% slow instead of a root. The only way to get the root is to apply spell flux, his E first, so you always have to EW if you want the root. W only slows now. Finally, his spell flux will always bounce off the primary target and the damage and mana cost have been nerfed by a little bit. In general, Ryze right now seems to be in the correct direction that Riot was talking about. Let's take a little bit of a look at his numbers. Before the changes on 9.11, Ryze had a 44.95% win rate in the top lane for Platinum Plus. In 9.12, it was bumped up very slightly, from a 44.95 to a 44.98, still very small. For Diamond Plus games, his win rate went up a little bit more noticeably, but still not very much. 9.11 top lane Diamond Plus, he was 45.68, and then now on this patch, he's 46.13. For mid lane in Platinum Plus, on the previous patch on 9.11, he was 43.83, and now he's sitting at around 44.26. For Diamond Plus mid laners though, his win rate is actually down by a little bit. 9.11 mid lane Diamond Plus was 44.81, and now it's at 44.3. It's a little bit better, and that's probably why they did say they're in the right direction, but the number differences are small regardless, for both the times that they went up and the times that they went down. So it seems like in terms of win rate, things are mostly the same. Despite this, the Ryze mains Reddit is absolutely full of hatred towards the changes. Some of the general complaints have a lot to do with it just not feeling the same, and this is quite understandable. It happens all the time when champions receive changes. You start to feel like you put in hundreds if not thousands of hours practicing a champion, learning that there's a certain way to do things, and then it gets taken away from you. For example, you finally learn after 25 Ryze games that the best way to perfectly integrate your shield into your combo is to do something like EWQ, getting your overload, getting your movement speed and your shield, and then escaping ganks. You learn that this is the best way to escape and weave your spells correctly. Now, Ryze doesn't have a shield.
Okay, spread. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it being useful, yeah.
Wanna see where's my shields? I miss my shields.
I want the shields back.
The other complaint and joke amongst the Ryze community is regarding how now he's a bit more brainless. You don't have to think as much about your combos because almost always the best thing to do now is just press EQ. Then you EQ, and then EQ, and hey wait, I should have just EQ'd him. The reason is because now your E always bounces, so timing your E to bounce off a target that's just about to die isn't necessary anymore. In practice and after playing it, I can say I do agree this is kinda lame, but I also get Ryze's perspective that one of the most broken parts of Ryze before was how safe his wave clear combo was. Before the changes, when you pressed E, EQ, you got massive wave clear off of your bounce, you got a shield, and movement speed. And this generally speaking made it really hard to punish him and was frustrating to play against at the highest level because good Ryze players and good laners knew how to abuse this for good minion wave management purposes. It always gave him priority, and whenever he needed to push, he could do it without really being in a risky situation. One big thing that I cannot leave out now is that Ryze is pretty buggy. Normally during your Q, it's not supposed to stop your movement. You can cast your Q and it will not make you interrupt your movement command. But for whatever reason, after this patch, it's a 50% chance that it will bug out and make you stop moving, and this is so annoying. Also, because your E bounce where it spreads the flux doesn't do damage anymore. It just spreads the flux mark to the target, so it doesn't actually deal additional damage. There are some weird interactions. For example, bouncing your E to your lane opponent doesn't give you a stack of Mana Flow Band, it doesn't proc it, because it doesn't do any damage. Spreading the Spell Flux also doesn't proc Rylai's unless you hit your Q afterwards, so there's a couple of fairly annoying things about the new E that will take weeks for players to get used to. I just hope that they fix the bug with the Q. As far as the builds, the Sorcery plus Inspiration page is doing better than ever, and I think when played at the highest level, this could be the best new page. With this, you are missing Ravenous Hunter from Domination, and that was a big part of your sustain before, but because you're more squishy now, you might not be able to use it as best as you could before. There are a couple other pages that people have been trying. Predator and Electrocute in Domination can work pretty well because of the burst and the roaming potential. Now that both versions of your W, whether you get the slow or the root, are 1.5 seconds, you have a very easy time proccing Cheap Shot. Just W into auto attack is enough in laning phase. So taking Domination on Ryze makes your laning phase much better, and you do have some kill pressure. Finally, I want to highlight this weird page. So you've probably seen all the mid lane smite that was being played by Dopa for the last month or so, and there's this guy in EU West that posted a pretty cool game using Spellbook Smite Ryze mid. Because of the changes to the E, now Ryze has a little bit of an easier time clearing jungle camps. So what you do is you perma-push mid lane, then you go steal the enemy's camps at your own will. He has an easy time clearing raptors, and of course if you want to go steal the enemy blue buff, that will allow you to stack your tier much faster. You can also easily duel people with the early stats and use blue smite, so maybe give this one a try. Arguably the biggest issue before with Ryze is that when you learned to play him correctly and properly in split push, you were unstoppable. He became the single best split pusher in the game and the best side laner in the game because of his safety, his tankiness, his movement speed, and being able to escape with his ultimate. Pros could draw so much pressure with just one champion, and Ryze has everything you need to take over games when you learn to kite properly and play the champion perfectly. Trying to lower the discrepancy between pro play success and solo queue is really hard, and of course Riot's been tackling this problem every single day with champions like Sylas, Aurelia, Akali, and of course Ryze. There's just no end in sight with Ryze because sooner or later he's going to receive another rework. And I do feel bad for Ryze mains who are constantly having to make adjustments, and it's not really a silver Ryze enthusiast's fault that the pro players make him OP, but I guess it's his fault for being silver. I don't know. One of the good things about the changes that I do like is the increased capability on his ultimate. This allows people to make more plays with it in solo queue, and I think it's a nice change. I hope in the future they look into his ult a little bit more and come up with some more options on how it can be even better for solo queue, because right now it's just not that great. Maybe even reworking it into a totally TF ultimate where it can only take, let's say, a maximum of 2 allies might be a better option. It's possible that Ryze is just doomed for eternity, but he's one of my favorite champions in the game, and I do think that he offers a unique playstyle that's pretty fun. He isn't necessarily stuck like this forever because chances are he'll receive another rework in Season 10, but for now, before you knock these changes completely out of the question, maybe play him and let me know what you think. Do you think the Ryze mains are babies, or maybe they're onto something? Do you think the numbers are purely coincidental? Let me know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and thank you to ProGuides who helped me out with the graphics in this video. Those lower thirds and those Ryze builds are all made by the ProGuides editors and the ProGuides guys, so make sure you check out ProGuides using the link in the description. It's the best all-in-one platform for getting better at League of Legends. I'll see you guys next time.